So we're going to talk about Albedo, and the reason I want to just talk about one character this video is because Albedo is a character that's going to get the largest buff in Genshin history. This is a buff, not as an indirect buff put into the game by giving the character a direct artifact set that's meant for another character, but also giving him a supporting character as well as other things, and he's going to get somewhere between a 30 to a 60% damage increase following 2.3, and I'm going to be explaining why and how he gets that in this video and what he's good for in a lot of different team compositions. Let's jump into it. Alright, so with the 2.3 livestream, we got some new information about some characters. The first character that, of course, we got to talk about is Albedo. So Albedo, if you didn't know, is a character that actually is a support character or sub-DPS character that came out to the game in December of last year, and to be honest, a lot of people have very mixed feelings about him. But personally, I love Albedo. The reason I love Albedo is because he's useful in so many situations. I like this dude enough to crown him, and I honestly think he's one of the better characters for free-to-play players if you know what you're doing in Genshin Impact and you're looking for a character for sub-DPS. There are two major things about Albedo that make him really appealing. The first thing that makes Albedo really, really appealing in Spiral Abyss or in any content whatsoever is his field time. It's super low. You drop the elemental skill, you drop the elemental burst, and then you come back 30 seconds later and just hit things one at a time. Now Albedo, as a character, as you can see, does a fair amount of damage. That's 16,000 a hit initially. And you know what? This is a character that actually starts ramping in damage as the enemies lose HP. So if they have low HP, you can see I'm doing about 17,000, 19,000, etc. And this is, again, with just using Geo Shred, no boosting, etc. So the thing about Albedo that makes Albedo just so valuable on a hit as a character is just he's a character that you just lead out in the field and you don't have to come on. A sub DPS character is a very valuable character, and he's one of the few sub DPS 5-stars in Genshin. The best part about Albedo is that his best in-slot weapon currently before 2.3 is going to be the Harbinger of the Dawn. Now this weapon is a completely free weapon because it's a 3-star weapon that you can get. And the reason this is the best weapon is because the value of critical chance and critical damage on the weapon. The only other weapon out there that actually has rivaled this weapon is going to be the Jade Cutter, which is actually only better if you're going to be using ultimate damage. And perfectly honest on that one, doesn't even help that much. If you were just looking at this weapon as a whole, you can see that the value of this weapon has a 28% crit chance above 90% HP, which is almost all the time because he's out in the field, and you get an extra 23% over here from the Harbinger of Dawn, making it way higher than that 44% from the Jade Cutter. The alternate weapons, of course, people have been using is the Signature Festering Desire for him, but he really doesn't work really well with a lot of other weapons besides that and the Jade Cutter. The thing about Albedo, and makes him so interesting, is because he actually scales entirely upon defense. There is actually no attack percentage scaling except for when you drop the elemental skill. Whenever you drop the elemental skill's damage, all of it is defense percentage. The ultimate damage, unfortunately, is going to be reliant entirely on attack percentage, but that does get kind of rectified by a Constellation 2, boosting out your damage by a percentage of your defense. So you do get a little bit more of a defense boost in your ultimate at that point. Now, Albedo's ultimate doesn't do like ridiculous damage, it's about 588%, but what's funny is that seeing how you can get way higher damage just from the elemental skill, there's no point in actually boosting the elemental burst. For Albedo's overall artifact build, there are about 4 different artifact builds that you can currently run. The first one, of course, is going to be running a 4-piece Milla set, so that you can actually proc damage based on elemental skills, so you can give your entire team a 20% attack bonus. The second build for Albedo is going to be a 4-piece Noblesse set, which of course boosts your ultimate damage while also giving your entire team a nice little boost. The third build for Albedo is going to be a 2-piece Archaic Petra as well as a 2-piece Noblesse set, which has allowed people to get a 15% Geo bonus as well as the 20% elemental burst damage, but as previously mentioned, the elemental burst damage on Albedo is kind of lackluster and not super necessary. And the final build for Albedo, of course, is going to be a 4-piece Archaic Petra set, but this is a set that is actually very hard to utilize because when using a 4-piece Archaic Petra set, there's actually only one way to proc the actual elemental skill shield. So when using a crystallized shield reaction, you of course can drop your elemental skill and then use an ability to drop one of those elemental shield crystals. Now in order to get a boost from the Archaic Petra set, you actually have to switch over to Albedo, run over the crystal, and then switch back to the aforementioned character, and then be able to use all your damage. And then if your shield ever changes, then you can switch to another character, but you actually have to keep running over those shields with Albedo in order to get yourself the damage boost. This makes Albedo one of those characters that doesn't really have a true artifact set. Now, you'll notice that I'm actually running 2-piece Tenacity of the Mild as well as a 2-piece Main Beloved set because I actually just get substat over set on him. Before 2.3, he actually didn't really have an artifact set that is going to be valuable for him. The primary stats, of course, you're going to be looking for are defense percentage and crit chance and crit damage on Albedo, which gives you the most amount of what you can get. Now, you want a defense percentage main set on your stance, as well as a defense percentage headpiece with as much crit chance and crit damage as possible. Now, the other thing you want is, of course, a defense percentage on your goblet, but you want the geo damage because you're going to get a lot more scaling and damage. Now, defense percentage before 2.3 has higher scaling overall than crit chance and crit damage because with the defense percentage, you actually get a bigger overall bump. I only have like one artifact with a defense percentage substat on it from riding the Shogun, so I'll go put that on real quick. So before we're hitting about 20,000 on the high.
Let's get down to business.
And with more crit damage, you should, of course, be hitting higher damage numbers. So let's see. We're hitting about 15,000 here. You can see that before that we could see. All right, and the high end of the damage, about 14,000 with no shield on. 17,000. So you can see, even with going for higher crit damage, you're probably not going to get the bigger results. Even if I got another 20% defense there and added onto it with a full defense percentage rolled crit damage headpiece, you would think crit damage would hit harder, but actually defense percentage does scale a little bit better. I know that a rolls comparison is not perfect there, but I'm going to be honest, defense percentage main stat is a lot easier to get anyways. So why even bother? And if you ended up getting a defense percentage main stat with crit chance and crit damage on it, which is like the only artifact in the entire... This is actually really funny. The only character in the entire game that can actually utilize a defense percentage main stat currently is Albedo. That may change in 2.3. So it's probably a lot better for your overall artifact sets if you just give him one of them. Because currently, even without that 15% geo damage bonus that we get from the Archaic Petra set, which is the only thing that would boost our elemental skill damage, we still have a really decent amount of damage. And that's why Albedo can run a 4-piece Millet set or a 4-piece Noblesse set for full supporting, and you don't necessarily need him all that. The other thing about Albedo is it's really good for elemental mastery for a lot of teams, so it's really good for your Hu Tao because he is going to boost out your elemental mastery by a total of 125 for 10 seconds, giving those bigger vape bonuses. Okay, so damage. Right? Damage. Tao. Price currently about 58,000. With the TM buff now, about 88,000. So in 2.3, we're getting a new artifact set. The nuts and bolts of this is it's going to be about a 30% defense flat upgrade, and it's going to also add on another 24% after that, went into the 4-set beast bonus, in addition to 24% geo damage. So that comes out to about a 54% defense increase, which is a pretty sizable amount. Albedo's total defense is 876, which means you would have to add on an extra 473 total defense to get an equivalent. Now my Albedo's at 2,335 defense, so that would probably add on a pretty decent chunk here. Unfortunately, there's no legendary defense food. All we have is the defense flat for 308, so this can be a little better than this. You can also add on a 25% geo damage bonus here. For this test, I'm just going to use Albedo again with no set at all. Current damage right now, he's dropping, I think it's about 17,000 or so. 16,000 on this dude. And 18,000 on the guy that's below 50% HP. Now, I expect this to be like a 30% damage increase or so. Let's go see how much it does. So we're going to be increasing defense by 308, so it's not as much as the set bonus, it's a little bit less. And we're using a 25% geo damage bonus here, so that should be pretty close to what the set per run is offers at 24%. So this will give us an idea of what the new set will be if we farmed it out and got a good set on it. 22,000, that's a pretty decent chunk of damage. 20,000 to start with. That's... So now we're doing 20k hits on Albedo, which is pretty chunky. And that's 22,000 when they're below 50% HP. 25,000. Okay. So Albedo is a character that can be dropping 25,000 damage or more. So probably about 26 or 27,000 damage all said and done. All right, final dude we're gonna test on is this one right here. 25,000 on the Season Mage. 20,000 above the percentage gains. So overall, I think this is gonna be really good. Now, that's not even considering how strong it is going to be with Goru, because Goru is going to also increase defense percentage. So you can see it was just a 308 defense increase, which is only a total of 35% total damage defensive percentage increase. Goru is probably going to provide around much larger buff than that. Plus the set bonus is going to provide a bigger buff than that, so another 20% off to this. So I think Albedo is going to be dropping over 30,000 damage pretty easily on his elemental skill. So that just lets you know that the next patch, that's where he's going to be at. In addition to that, there is going to be a new weapon structured around being specifically built for Albedo. So he could be even hitting even higher than that if that new weapon is good. So overall, I think Albedo is going to be one of those characters that has a lot more potential this patch than any other character to be extremely strong. And he's going to get somewhere between a 30% overall damage increase to a potentially 60% damage increase, depending on how the weapon interacts with his overall kit. If it's going to be a great weapon, it's going to be stronger than this or whatnot. Now, Albedo has a lot of positive to his overall kit, so there are things that I really like about him, and his utilization with other team compositions besides this is broad. Albedo is one of those characters in Genshin that actually does really well with Catalyst characters. If you didn't know, you can actually stand on top of Albedo's pillar and rain death and fire from above in order to get yourself more damage. The other thing it does provide is, of course, it gives characters like Klee a little bit more range, and you can actually shoot her laser beam all the way to the edge of the range versus just being in the front. So it can actually give you some more high skill strategies. The other thing is that if you're using grouping strategies with Albedo's burst, and you ended up using Albedo along with some other characters, you can actually just drop the hammer from afar, use lots of quick swap between orientations in order to get yourself a lot more damage from above while also keeping yourself safe. Crystallized shield reactions also can provide a decent amount of damage and give you an overall nice protection while not having to worry about enemies and give you overall high damage. It's very fun. And seeing how Catalyst characters will naturally just hit enemies on the ground, you don't have to worry about positioning your characters as much. So any character that's going to be doing damage to you, you can actually protect yourself from a lot more charge attacks, stamina, etc. And seeing how you're just constantly hitting guys that are on the floor or below you, you actually don't even need to dodge. Not having to dodge is actually a very fun thing. Being able to just drop bombs from people from the heavens is pretty cool. And I will say that I have done this before to get 36-star Abyss many times. It's just having people dodge under you over and over and over again, hilarious. Unfortunately, the same trick has problems on bosses fights like Oceanid, because Oceanid, of course, as well as other bosses, have the ability to destroy Geo-Constructs. So since Geo-Constructs are going to be something that can be easily destroyed, Albedo can, of course, have some bigger issues on the Doggo fight, or the Wolf fight, or some other one. Well, this video is already getting kind of long, so I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I will create another video if you guys want about Albedo team compositions for other varieties and things that you can do with Albedo. I have a bunch of different things that I do on stream all the time, so want to check us out, twitch.tv/Sekapoko. Check us out there. But thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the day, guys.